All right, everyone, we've gotten one match under the belts for Orange County. Wasn't quite the result I think we were all hoping for, but realistically, we all know that first match was going to be a tough one against Lou City. Unfortunately for Orange County, it doesn't get much easier, and we're going to get into all of that, plus much more. Welcome to the Podcast of Champions. This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast.
This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, the first and only podcast dedicated to Orange County Soccer Club, its fans, and supporters. Follow us on Twitter at OCSC_SoccerCast or on Facebook at Orange and Black Soccer Cast.
How's it going, Orange County? Welcome to another episode of the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, the first and only podcast dedicated to Orange County Soccer Club, its fans, and supporters. I'm your host, Ray Samora, and I'm here to take you through this journey as we discuss all things Orange County Soccer Club. Let's bring him in. The partner that I have tonight for this episode, Mr. Brad from Las Vegas. Brad, it's becoming a recurring theme here. You get introduced first on a lot of episodes now. How's it going, my man? How are you enjoying that?
Soon you're almost going to have to say each and every week, Brad joining me alongside. I'm going to be the new Dylan role.
I think you're pretty close to that role at this point because out of everyone, you've been the most consistent part of the show in recent times. But let's do this. Before we get into the mix of things, we have one additional guest we're bringing on here. Last time we spoke to this gentleman was just before the championship match in 2021. And I think both sides were excited and confident going to this match. But he was gracious enough to come back. It took a while, but he's back. And that's Mr. Matt from the group formerly known as Unused Subs. I don't know. That's sort of no longer a thing, right?
Yes, we hung it up after last season. My original co-host, who I think is going to make an appearance in a graphic you guys have, has moved to New York and is getting ready to start married life later on this year. And so there we are. We decided just to go ahead and hang it up after 8, 9, however many years it's been, 8 or 9 years. So I'm still doing some stuff on the side and still involved a little bit. But not doing the same thing that we were before.
No, I totally get it. You know, for those that are not involved in USL Championship, lower league soccer podcasting, media coverage, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of dedication, and no one makes any kind of money off of this unless you're really, really good at your job. A lot of us just do this for the fun. And at some point, a lot of people decide, hey, I have bigger, better, more important things to take care of. And props to you and your crew because you all did a wonderful job. And you were one of those Unused Subs was one of those sort of standards of what you could sort of look at and how to base a USL type podcast, a lower league type podcast. So we appreciate all the work that you all did. If y'all didn't realize, the reason we have Matt on here is he's a Tampa Bay Rowdies supporter. We saw that graphic. He was actually at that match in 2021. It looked like him and his friends were not enjoying the atmosphere, at least in that evening, regardless of any excuses or anything. But just if you could remember back to that match, Matt, what was going on that ever so popular image? I think we were the ones that sort of cropped that out, tried to turn that into some sort of meme. But what do you remember was going on in your head when that particular image, that particular video happened?
That was right after the second goal, and I forget who the guy was that scored it for you guys. Like right after you scored it, just ran right in front of the whole midfield section, just taunting the entire section, and much like Aiden Quinn did for Indy last weekend with the alleged valid penalty. We were giving it back to him a little bit there.
That's part of soccer life, right? Obviously, these players know when they're doing some of this stuff. Some of these players know that they're taunting the opposing team's fans, especially when you're on the road. We've talked to some players, not only the fans, but they know, or they try to get under the skin of the opposing team in general. So I think our fans remember. There's been a few times, I believe, like when Los Dos is playing and they're purposely coming right in front of Caroline Coalition to rile them up, and so I think all soccer fans understand that
my
feeling.
favorite part of that is I had forgotten that was on a big ESPN for the evening. So when I went to my day job the next day, which is teaching middle school, I was not aware how many of first of all, I wasn't even aware that shot had been on the screen until like the morning after when I woke up. And I got several questions about, was that you yeah, that was me. They're like, do you know the girl who was flicking? Yes, I know her. I know her very well. Yes.
The wonders of being on actual real ESPN and not the paywall ESPN. So anyone that wants to, or anyone that had a chance to see it, saw it, and that's really cool. That, I mean,
Like, you guys
hopefully you
need to
didn't get in trouble. You didn't get in any
No,
trouble from your job, right?
I mean, I wasn't the one flipping the bird, so no. They didn't catch me doing anything that I could have gotten in trouble for. Thankfully, the camera wasn't on at that point.
So I'm going to ask you this question, Matt, because obviously I believe you're still East Coast, right? So it gets a little late out there. I don't know if you have a bedtime you need to be off the air by, or if you want to
I'm
hang
on
a little
vacation
bit.
all week. It's spring break for us.
Ooh, you guys get an early spring break.
It's off so we can celebrate my birthday, which coincidentally this Saturday, the day of the game.
Are you going to make a trip out to Orange County to celebrate your birthday?
No. My daughter has a volleyball tournament that weekend, so I'm going to be mostly at that, but also sneaking away to the bar later on that evening to watch for us, 10 p.m. kickoff before getting her back to the volleyball tournament the next morning.
So if you don't mind, let me do this really quickly. I want to sort of recap what happened this past weekend. We'll talk about Orange County. We'll give you a brief chance to talk about what happened for Tampa Bay so we can get an idea of what to expect this coming weekend. But for the fans that didn't know what was going on, it was opening weekend for USL Championship this past weekend, and Orange County SC opened at home, hosting Louisville City at Championship Soccer Stadium. Everyone probably knew that was going to be a tough match. Lot of optimism from fans and from, I believe even a lot of us on the podcast, some optimism for that match. Unfortunately, the results didn't turn out the way many of us had anticipated, as Orange County dropped the match 1-3 to Louisville City. The interesting thing, and this is sort of my really high level analysis of the match, and Brad, I'll let you chime in with your thoughts on it, is I felt like Orange County look to have a lot more high quality chances to get the ball into the back of the net. And they seem to be putting their foot to the gas for a lot of that match. They just could not get the ball past Mr. Morton in goal, except for the one goal by Mr. Kevin Partida, who we will get a chance to speak with later. But unfortunately, it seems to me the Tampa Bay, the Louisville City attack, they just caught us like on the counter in a couple of those goals. And it's difficult to leave a match like that, where really it was just some quick, troublesome counterattacking from Louisville City that really hurt Orange County this match. Now, if I'm wrong, Brad, correct me on this, but that was just sort of my thoughts on it. I felt Orange County had multiple opportunities to not just equalize, but to take the lead before Louisville got that second goal. And then once they got that second goal, it was just a little bit too difficult for Orange County to overcome. Brad, what was your thoughts on the match for Orange County against Louisville City?
So I think it was a tale of, kind of where Orange County, you see where they want to be. The midfield is, given, I think, a lot better than last year, which was kind of one of our weakest links outside the back line. So it was nice to see, new members stepping in, like Mr. Peterson in the captain's role, who did an admirable job. Seeing Nakeem come in. Villanueva played his heart out. Partida, I thought, had a particularly good game. I'm surprised they subbed him, although he kind of did what Kevin always does. And I don't know if he's in our green room yet, but he got another yellow, which is not surprising. He seems to be kind of all over the place with those sometimes, even with his Reno days back in the day. but seeing players just step up, step in, I was really impressed with Corede before he got injured. But the team, I thought, played better in the midfield. A couple of big mistakes happen. I think that second or Orange County's almost second goal kind of led to eventually Louisville's third goal. Although I don't know if that was offside or not. Camera angle did not do it justice. But it was interesting. It was a good game. I think it showed that Orange County had a lot that they improved on. There's still a lot more to do. The defense was shaky at times, but played a lot better than I thought, given the score line. It's just you got to find a way to finish some of those chances. Chada had a good one. Doman had a one that just hit off the crossbar. It's strong. And I think Nakeem, or not Nakeem, sorry. Gosh, what's his name?
Is it Emil Nelson?
Yeah, I think he
Nielsen?
underwhelmed. Yeah, I think Nielsen underwhelmed. Jameson needs to start if Osundina is hurt. Jameson needs to start in that spot. He played really well, but probably won't happen given that we have what's his name from San Diego who's going to be back in the lineup this week.
What's his name will be back in the lineup this week.
I'm all over the place.
You got to love that. I don't know, Matt, did you get a chance to watch anything on this match, whether it was just the highlights or any of the minutes of the Orange County Louisville match?
I haven't yet. I actually wanted to at least watch some of the highlights to see at least what Louisville's up to with some of their roster changes, some of the things they're doing. I haven't had a chance yet, but I am. Oh, look, how convenient is that?
Look at that, producer Andy on top of it. Once we mention that, he brings him up. I was just wondering, because if you had any thoughts on maybe what you saw. Let me jump on what with Brad saw. There was a couple names that really stood out to me, and he called both of those names out, but I'm going to relay it and sort of emphasize it, right? Bryce Jamison coming off the bench, he looked like a man on a mission on the left wing attack. And the cool thing is he was right in front of County Coalition pretty much for all of that. So they got to see a lot of what he was doing out there. And I know Larry was on the sidelines manning the social media, the Twitter account for us. And he got a couple good videos. And one of those was with Bryce Jamison with some fancy footwork out there. He looks like a legit person that should get some good minutes for Orange County this season and should contribute very well. One of those youngsters that Orange County has been really good at developing over the last, 3 or 4 seasons. They've really worked on developing some quality youngsters. And I think that's the reason why a lot of these youngsters are willing to or interested in coming to a team like Orange County, because, teams can sell the development aspect of it. But then if a player comes and either doesn't get any playing time or doesn't get a good opportunity, or the team's too focused on maybe having veterans in there as opposed to giving the youngsters a chance, then it doesn't really work out for them. Orange County has proven that they've sort of found that balance of veterans and young players. So we've seen players through the ranks like Aaron Cervantes, goalkeeper, who moved on to Rangers, Ronaldo Damas, who moved on, a couple seasons back, or a season ago, I guess a year ago at this point. And now you've got players like Osundina and Bryce Jamison, and then another player that was really strong off the bench, and that's Chada from UCI. He was one of those players that came so close to equalizing, or at least getting Orange County back in the match. I can't remember when his attempt was, what the score was at that point, but he got a really powerful header off a nice cross that I want to say was maybe a foot wide. I was right at the perfect angle watching that header go onto target, and he was right there. So it would have been probably after this goal that we're watching on the highlights. So it would have been a chance to equalize maybe, but unfortunately it was just wide. And can I just say right now, watching this as a Tottenham fan, it hurts to see Mr. Cameron Lancaster score against my team, even though he only had one appearance with the senior Tottenham team. It still hurts to see that, because I think at one point, if I can remember correctly, he was ahead of Harry Kane on the pecking order at Tottenham before injuries, I think, really hurt him, or the lack of development. So, but yeah, those two youngsters for Orange County really stood out. One thing that was maybe a little worrisome was the shaky goalkeeping from Colin Shuttler. I know he had some good performances last season in goal when Rakowski was out with an injury, but Oh, here's that header attempt right here from, oh no, this isn't. This is the Dogman crossbar. That really hurt also. That looked like it was going to go in. But Shuttler looked like a young goalkeeper out there in this match instead of sort of the composed goalkeeper we saw last season. So who knows what to know. I know there's rumors that Orange County might be bringing in another goalkeeper. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Brad, any other sort of names that stood out, whether it was for good or for bad, other than the ones you've already called out?
I'm just gonna give a last moment. I was impressed. I mean, Louisville's Louisville. They're really good, and Brian Ownby played probably one of the best games I've seen in a long time in this league. And I just have to give a shout out. He beat us pretty much. He forward and back across the field.
There we go. There you have it for the match between Louisville and Orange County. Let's move on. I mean, the unfortunate thing for Orange County, yes, they're at home, but it doesn't get much easier for them as far as opponents go. You're starting the season off against two of the top, perennial top teams from the Eastern Conference. How unlucky or unfortunate for Orange County is it that, two of their opponents from the Eastern Conference are the first two matches of the season, although it is at home, but it's against Louisville City and Tampa Bay. I'm going to ask you, Matt, that question because you know the East better than we do. How unfortunate is it for Orange County that their first two matches are against those two teams?
I'm going to say it was definitely unfortunate to get Louisville first game of the season, because I'm watching those highlights and I'm just having some flashbacks to the things that guys like Ownby and Lancaster, and especially Josh Winder, who knocked us out of the Eastern Conference final in extra time last year. Paolo DiPiccolo, some of those guys are doing. But I'm honestly going to say that getting us in week 2 might actually be a good thing for you guys. We had a lot of offseason changes, brought in a lot of new faces, especially in the attack. Brought back some familiar names as well too to strengthen up the defense, which kind of took a little bit step back last year. But in the offseason, we lost Leo Fernandez for the season to an Achilles injury. Last year's MVP, he's out. In the first 10 minutes of last week's match, Lewis Hilton goes out, still unsure the extent of that injury. So we're integrating a lot of guys, and to be honest with you, watching the game on Saturday, it's honestly kind of hard to tell. I've been to a couple training sessions, and seen some of these guys. They opened a new training complex this year in Tampa, and watched them out there. But they also had a brand new pitch on at Al Lang Stadium, and that I think they've only played once. One legitimate kind of preseason game against Montreal Impact, and they had a couple closed door scrimmages as well too. It looked to me honestly like for both sides, the guys were having trouble keeping their footing. Guys were having trouble getting on the ball, staying on the ball. We saw some really weird, just weird things like back heels to nowhere that I don't even think were meant to be back heels. I mean, it's really hard for me to say what we're going to see out of this week. A lot of it's going to depend on Lewis Hilton's injury, how he's going to come back. We kind of thought maybe they might make a move to pull in a replacement for Leo Fernandez, knowing he was going to be out for the whole year, but they seem to be pretty confident with the guys they've got on the roster. Charlie Dennis, one of the new signees, started in what would be his normal position. What I'm really looking forward to see, and this maybe will come in a little helpful for us, is kind of our two main attackers. We've got like 4 new forwards this year. But 2 of them come from the Western Conference. Cal Jennings came over from Las Vegas, and JJ Williams, I believe, spent some time at a couple clubs in the West. So it looks to me like the chemistry is still developing between those guys playing together. We had an early, not super, like 20 minutes penalty for a handball. And they look to have, I don't want to call it an argument because it wasn't anything that complex. Jennings picked up the ball and started walking towards the spot, and it looked like JJ Williams was like, hey, want me to take this? I could take this. And Cal just kind of, holding the ball, turned his body away like, nope, it's mine. So I think there's still some chemistry to develop there. But they're familiar with the Western Conference at least. Part of the thing I'm looking forward to is how is the travel going to impact us? We know travel, especially now that everyone's playing everybody. There's going to be some multiple cross-country games for some of these teams. How is that going to impact these guys this early in the season? we'll see. I feel pretty good with our defense. We brought back Forrest Lasso from Sweden, the two-time USL Championship Defender of the Year. We still have Aaron Guillen back there in the back, and Connor Antley back there as well too. Past those three guys, though, we have Freddie Kleeman, and then two of our academy kids who have both played in Open Cup. One of them, Tate Johnson, got in to some games last year as a second half substitute, got an assist. So he's got some experience, and he definitely has a ton of confidence. I don't know if they'll be making that trip for this game or not, but it's going to be a good test, I think, for both teams. I mean, we're still trying to get a lot of guys integrated. It sounds like you guys have brought in some new players and new faces as well too. One of the things that we've talked to when, back when we did the podcast, talking to Neil Collins in previous seasons is that the first month and a half is almost like extended preseason, because everybody's still getting used to, new conditions in stadiums, new faces around them. We were trying to figure out how the referee was actually going to call this game. There was a second-minute yellow card for dissent. But apparently you can punch players in the back of the head, and that's not even going to get a talking to. So, part of it is knowing how some of these officials are going to handle things. And also, apparently you can foul a player like 5 yards outside the box, and that's a penalty in the 90th plus 6th minute of stoppage. Not that I'm bitter about that still. That's also where my voice went.
So a couple things to talk about. So apparently we're a little lucky. Tampa Bay is not quite the powerhouse that they may typically be in the past, or they're still trying to figure out their stuff for the season. Awesome to hear there for Orange County fans. Although, again, still not going to overlook a team like Tampa Bay when it comes to that. One of the things that Orange County fans seem to be very passionate about is the USL sort of dislikes Orange County. Part of the reasoning behind that is after Orange County beats Tampa Bay in the championship last year, the thought is, okay, if we get Tampa Bay on the schedule, it should be in Orange County the following year as a rematch.
100% should have been. That's something we all talked about here too. It's like, not really gonna gripe about it, but it's absolutely ridiculous that you guys traveled back here again the year after the championship game.
Yeah, it's sort of like that. Orange County earned the right to host Tampa Bay if we're going to face them again. That's right. Sort of, when you look at just any sports league, it's sort of built that way, as you get like that rematch and you amp it up, and whoever won sort of gets the opportunity to host, especially since Tampa Bay hosted the previous match. So we have to wait an extra year for that. Now both of these rosters are completely different than they were at the championship match. So you don't really get a true like revenge match at Orange County's home and whatnot. So there's that. So maybe what we can ask of you, Matt, is since you're right down the street from USL headquarters, maybe you can go find out why that was the case and why it took that whole extra year for Orange County to host Tampa Bay. Jokingly, obvious. I don't want you to get in trouble with USL headquarters.
I'm about 45 minutes away, but I will be a lot closer Saturday and Sunday, especially on Sunday. I know. Well, it is going to be my birthday. Perhaps I will stop at some of the neighboring establishments while I'm in the area.
Hey, support local establishments, right? Let me say this, because you sort of mentioned some issues, and this is always another recurring theme that I think that a lot of the USL fans and shows talk about is the quality of the pro referees or the referees for the league. I know there's always people that are like, oh, that ref, or oh, this. But one of the things that tends to happen is refs sort of stay local, right? So a lot of the times at Championship Soccer Stadium, we see a lot of the same refs at those matches throughout the season. You don't get, it's not like the NFL or the NBA where the refs travel all over the country and are doing all that. They're sort of local. So how much of a disadvantage is that for a team like a Tampa Bay, right? Coming out to Orange County, probably have never had any of these refs as their refs for a match. So you don't have any kind of camaraderie with a ref. A lot of, in a lot of sports, players get to know refs get to know some of the players, and you might be able to joke around a lot. But in this case, it's a team literally from across the country with probably a Southern California based group of refs. How much of a disadvantage is that for your team in this situation, or any team in that type of situation?
It's definitely a thing. It's one of those things I think I kind of chalk up as part of the home field advantage, I guess, in the way that our league is organized. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely, I mean, I know they put some time and effort into researching the referees once the assignments are made, and kind of looking at games, looking at some of the stats and stuff like that. Like going into the game Saturday, we saw the head official and we were said, okay, this is going to be a fun evening. And I guess in some ways it was. But yeah, it's definitely something you kind of have to, maybe take that first 10, 15 minutes, maybe kind of see what you can get away with, see what he's going to call, what the points of emphasis are, like what kind of things he's looking for. But yeah, that's just that's one of the quirks of the game, I guess, around here. So it'll be interesting. And going back to what something you're saying about not being the powers. Like I still think we're going to be very good. I would not be surprised if we end up back in the Eastern Conference Final again, just because it's what we've done the last few years. One thing I took away, like Saturday night, obviously it was a draw that feels very much like a loss. Anytime you give up 3 points with about a minute and a half to go to settle for a draw. And then I kind of thought a little bit more clearly about it the next day. And it's, we're missing 2 of our best players in that game. Leo Fernandez already being out, Lewis Hilton going out in the 8th or 9th minute with an injury. And the players and the coaches will tell you that they overall did not play up to the standard they're expecting to be at. And yet we were still a minute and a half from winning against Indy, who, Indy has been, on a tough stretch lately, last few years. But looking at some of the names they brought in, because they brought in a bunch of former Rowdies, we know how our captain and all-time leading scorer from the last few years is now Indy's captain. They've got a couple players over there that we know pretty well. Like Indy's going to be a very good team. Indy, I'm ready to call them already right now with the upgrades to the roster and knowing their head coach like we know him. Like they're a playoff team this year. So we'll get better, hopefully sooner rather than later. We'll see how it happens.
So my questions next, or at least my line of questions. So you shared a couple of similar points to our last guest last week, talking about Louisville, to where you guys both think that your teams belong, perennially in the championship game. Is this season a bust, knowing what you know now about injury and players? Is this season a bust if Tampa does not make the Eastern Conference Finals?
I would be very disappointed. Yeah, I still think overall, looking at the Eastern Conference, there are definitely some teams that made some improvements. I'm excited about some of the guys we brought in. I was kind of open when they announced they had signed Cal Jennings. I'm like, I don't know who this kid is. I mean, he played college soccer in Orlando, and he's familiar to some people around the area. I don't have enough time in my life to pay a lot of attention to other games and other conferences other than what the Rowdies are doing and who they're playing. So I really didn't know anything about him. And I went to a couple training sessions, and this kid is something else. I'm expecting to see a big year out of him once he gets going. And it just the last couple years, we've been in the last 3 Eastern Conference Finals. We've won 2 of them. The previous years, we had a really good defense and an offense that did just enough. And last year, we scored the most goals in the league, and the defense was a little bit of a step back. It feels this year, and I think you guys were saying about your team, we've got what I feel like is a pretty good mix of veteran and younger players. Our starting defense is it's a group that they have chemistry together. They've played together before, even though Forrest Lass was coming back from a season in Sweden. The guys we have back there, I feel pretty good that they are going to be able to keep us in games until the offense begins to click. And I think if we can get the offense and the defense going the way they should, I think they're capable of, with guys like Cal and JJ Williams. I think it's going to be a really fun year to be watching Rowdy soccer at Al Lang.
So yeah, going back to that offense that you're just talking about, you guys started both JJ and Cal over some of the options that you guys usually have had in the past couple seasons, like Lucky M. Kasana. Do you have any insight? I know you're not full time anymore, but from your guys' coaching staff on why go with the new guys over the returning players?
They're really big on Cal. Before they announced the Cal Jennings signings, we were getting messages and texts from the front office, and they're like, "This is the big one. This is the one to get excited about. This is the one that they are really high on." To be honest, Cal Jennings is the reason, and Neil Collins has said as much without saying it directly. Cal Jennings is the reason why they let Seba Guinzotti walk to Indy, a conference rival, without asking for a transfer fee, without trying to work a trade, because they wanted him to go somewhere where he was going to play after what he's done for the club. But they are big on Cal Jennings as being like the guy that they wanted to build this kind of attack around. And then part of that figured in with Leo Fernandez being there, not as maybe the focal point of the offense as he was last year, but in kind of more of a supporting role. Lucky the last few years has been a super sub kind of player. And that seems to be the role he kind of relishes at this point, and he's done well in that. So I think that's where we're going to see him most often this year. They also brought in Ariel Martinez, who is kind of almost up there with Lucky in terms of age. I think he's like 35, 36, maybe a little bit older. But they love how he wants the ball in a situation. And he had a pretty good preseason. And then the other one is a guy they brought in from Germany, Felix Schroeder, who arrived like probably about halfway through training camp. So I think that's probably one of the reasons why we didn't see him in the game at all. He's still getting his fitness, still getting acclimated to the system, acclimated to being in a new country. Cal and JJ, I think, are going to be our guys pretty much for the whole year, unless one of them's in a really bad stretch or someone gets injured.
So really quick, I'm going to jump in here because we do have our next guest that we want to speak to awaiting in the green room. We're going to bring him on in just a moment. But Matt, if you want to share any in-depth analysis of your team, this is the perfect time to do so while we have our next guest jumping on the show. So get all that important information for us. But let's bring in this next guest. He's basically over the last few months is probably just living life, late or mid to late last year, a new father, a birthday just recently, and now his a goal with Orange County. That's Mr. Kevin Partida. Kevin, welcome to the Orange and Black Soccer Cast.
What's up, guys? Happy to be here.
No, we're happy to have you. Just let us know how exciting, how amazing was it to score a goal in this match, the opener here this past weekend. What were your thoughts getting that ball into the net? I know it's been hard for you to get the balls past the goalies with Orange County. How did it feel to open up that net?
Yeah, it was, a little bit, I guess probably wasn't expecting to be, I didn't come into this season, or you don't usually come to seasons, expecting to be a goal scorer, but, it helped. It really felt good, obviously, especially in the moment. Felt like, the team was having momentum shift our way, and then obviously, in the end, it was a little bit disappointing with the end result, though.
Obviously, yeah, the result that the team wants is that victory, and we all know that you guys are working really hard to get to that level and get to that point where you guys can get those victories, which is amazing. Hopefully, it's this weekend against Tampa Bay. There, obviously we know that from social medias last year you became a father. How has that been for you? How are you enjoying that life as a father, and how has that sort of changed your mindset just in life in general and as a soccer player?
It's been, amazing, as I'm sure any father would say. I think he's 7 months right now, so he's growing really, really quickly. Feels like every month flies by, and he's doing something new. So just trying to kind of embrace every little moment, like everybody advises to. But I don't know. I'm really enjoying it, and also kind of already a little bit hurts that it's flying by.
Oh, trust me, it continues to fly by forever. My sons are now 10 and 12, and I remember when they were in my arms. You could hold them like a football, and they just fit there perfect, and they would just sleep there forever. And now it's very rare that you want to get them to snuggle with you like that.
Yeah,
And then let me ask you about this, because one of the things we noticed a lot this weekend against Louisville City was maybe the pitch condition was a little slippery. I think a lot of players were sliding, slipping, falling down out of nowhere. What were your thoughts on that? Was it difficult to keep the balance on a pitch that had been soaked with rain over the last few weeks?
No, I think, we obviously keep it in mind, as far as, what kind of footwear we're going to wear for the match. But I think especially the guys that that maybe are returners for the club kind of know what to expect from the pitch. And if anything, I think sometimes it helps for the game to just move a little bit faster, even if we're like speaking on the goal maybe a little bit. Like the ball moves pretty quickly, so it kind of, I think it helps the flow of the game more than, I don't know if I saw too many guys slipping.
Perfect. And then there were a couple really close opportunities from your teammates. One from Dogman off the crossbar, another one from Chata off his head that missed like a foot wide. Out of those two, what do you think is what was the most heartbreaking out of those to see those not go into the net? Do you think either of those should have gone in?
Yeah, I think Ryan's obviously it's off the bar, so it hurt a little bit more, especially it bounced straight down. Didn't like hit the bar and fly out. Ashish's was a really good opportunity, but it's a little more. I think it would have been a nicer goal in the sense that a little bit less expected. But I think Ryan had a nice chance there and just got a little bit unlucky with the bar.
All right. Well, welcome back to our show. I believe we've had you once in last season when you were new to the team here. But I guess my question is this the Kevin Partida we're going to get later on in this season? Is a couple more goals, a couple more, I guess, up the field play?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, having that goal, in week one, it kind of, does put it in the back of your mind that it's something that can be throughout the season, like you're saying. I don't have to limit myself in a sense to just the defensive duties that I'm I guess most known for. So definitely gives me the confidence to join the attack more in the right moments.
And then going back to the Reno days, I believe the person who assisted you on that goal was Mr. Brent Richards. What's it like having him on the team still this season? Him and Seth Kasipley going back to those Reno days.
I think we've been together for so long now that maybe we don't think about it as much, but it's definitely, it's nice. It's just easy. Like I said, we've been together for obviously with some years, in between, but yeah, it's just nice to be really familiar with a couple of guys, and especially last year when it was my first year coming in.
So, what coming back into the season through the preseason, since I believe you weren't with the team all preseason last year, what's been most improved? What still needs some working on, and what's kind of pleasantly surprised you with how this team's been shaping up this season?
Um, there's three questions there, huh? So
Yeah, so the good, the bad, and the to be improved on, I guess, or what's secretly surprised you?
I think no, I think in the locker room it's been really nice. The spirit of the group. I think obviously we had a lot of new guys, but everybody has gelled really well, really early. You don't see a lot of egos and things like that. Obviously, we still have some things to work on. Obviously, getting 3 goals scored on in week one is not ideal. So I'm sure that's something we'll address, and I mean, we're just looking forward to really getting the first win under our belts. We know how fast the year can fly by, so yeah.
All right. And then our go-to questions. Do you have a local shout out for the Orange County area that you want to give in terms of like businesses?
So I live in Santa Ana, so I spend a lot of time checking out we have a lot of food trucks here, one on every corner it seems like. So, and I'm a big seafood guy, so I just kind of alternate, try and find the best one. If I had to shout one out, I would maybe say there's one on Bristol, before First. It's called Mariscos Pueblo Culichi. So that's one that it's close enough to me, and I really like their food. So that'd probably be one of them.
All right.
Perfect. Let me ask you this really quick, Kevin, because we were talking earlier on our show that Orange County tries to get that balance between some good veteran players and the youth movement and developing young players. Are there which of the young players on this roster this season has impressed you the most at training and after this first match?
I mean, really, they're all gonna come in with different, timelines, I guess, as far as their improvement. But I would say this year is looking really good for us as far as the young guys, just because it seems like they're all kind of hitting their stride now. So, watching Bryce come in and really be just bold in the way he ran at players and the minutes that he got was nice. Honestly, I mean, a little bit. Obviously, as an older player, you don't expect that from young guys, but I thought that was really impressive. Karede's been, a lot better compared to year one. Not to say it wasn't good, but obviously, 18 to 19-year-olds are gonna improve, really quickly. So he's been we could really see that improvement so far. And then Joseph Buckley wasn't in the squad this weekend, but he's been really good from day one, which is good to see. And Alex, obviously, we've seen him start games, so we've seen what he can do already, and also provided some chances right away. So just as I said at the beginning, it's nice to see that they're all seem to be hitting their stride this year. So we hope that they'll continue that throughout the season.
And you got to play just part season last year with another youngster in Kobe Henry, and he moved on to France, which was an amazing deal. Do you see any of that in any of these young players? You see anyone that looks to be the next, maybe Kobe Henry, that's going to take that big step in the near future?
I mean, I think it could be any one of them, really. Obviously, Kobe was a standout. In his he's a big center back, and you know he had some experience. Everyone's different, obviously, but I mean, you know how it is with young guys. They just need one breakout year, and you're pretty much gone. So I'm sure that's what these guys are striving to do. So like I said, it could be any one of them, really.
And we all know that you play really hard out there, and you tend to sometimes pick up some cards here and there with some of that aggressive play, which trust me, as if I was your coach, I don't mind the aggressive play as long as it can be controlled. So I appreciate you going out there because it disrupts things. How do you go when you get that first yellow card? How do you go and change your mindset for the remainder of that match so you don't pick up a second yellow and then hurt the team in that way? What do you do to change your style of play when that happens?
No, I think obviously the biggest thing is just to not get a silly yellow. After your first, something just really out of unusually dumb. But aside from that, personally, I don't change much, just because I don't. While I do get maybe cards here and there, last year I don't think I missed a game through yellow card suspension, but um, usually I try to be, as much as I pressure and like the defensive work, I'm not much of a fouler, I would guess. I would say. So I think I play pretty clean. So I just stick to my duties.
Like, sometimes when you play aggressively like that, it just makes it look worse than it actually is.
That's
I
what it
get that.
is.
Again, I appreciate the aggressive play. I'm all for the high press when talking to my youth players. I like to see them just in the face of the other team and whatnot. You played with someone like a Michael Orozco last season. Did he? What did you learn playing with a player with that type of experience, playing with the USA national team, playing MLS and whatnot, or playing at high level soccer? What did you take from him? And did he give you any pointers, hints, tips of how to improve your game?
Yeah, I mean, Michael was great. Obviously, I got one season with him. Some guys got a little more. But I mean, he has stories, obviously, of all his experience that he's been through. And I feel like I was lucky enough to kind of get closer with him as the year went by. So I would pick his brain a little bit for sure. I think he's just really good at keeping guys level headed. Obviously, he's a really humble guy despite everything that he's achieved. And I think you just learn more by the way he carries himself, and how much he was respected in the locker room. Sometimes that's the way that you learn things more than a guy constantly trying to give you advice and advice and advice.
I'm gonna hand the mic off to our guest Matt. He's a Tampa Bay person, so don't give too much information. But go ahead, Matt.
I've just been trying to take notes, trying to get any intel. Kevin, first of all, I want to say congratulations on the baby. I've got a daughter who is almost 16, and I remember those days like clear in my head, and although she doesn't.
You guys aren't making it any better, huh?
Oh, oh, it's all good though. It's the best thing in the world. But I wanted to go back. They were talking about some of the refereeing things, and we were talking about that in the very beginning of the show. Especially now, would you have where everybody's playing everybody, and you guys are going to make some cross country trips and come to the East, and our guys are coming out to see you guys, and how these crews are all kind of like locally based. And the example I gave was one of our guys got a yellow in the second minute for dissent. And I'm usually kind of one of those, like, if it's a foul whenever it is, but that seemed a little kind of silly to me. I don't know what you got to say to get a yellow for dissent in the second minute of a game, the season opener. But when you're playing the game and you've got a crew that you're maybe not familiar with, that hasn't worked some of your games before, like, do you guys take time to kind of study up on some of their previous matches, is there like hey, this guy is kind of quick on the trigger with the yellow, keep an eye out for him, or do you just kind of feel them out during the game to see what they are and aren't going to call?
Actually, it's kind of funny because sometimes, we'll have different opinions on referees. So, like, usually we don't, as players, we don't put too much thought into it. Maybe before the match, the coaching staff will definitely know, who the referees will be and what, what to expect from them and how to handle them. We kind of just see them once we're on game day and we're out in the tunnel and we see who the ref is that day. And yeah, some of us will be maybe excited, some guys a little less, but I think we're pretty familiar, especially if you've been around the league. You kind of start to get familiar with so you kind of start to know what to expect.
All right, and then if you could just tell me the starting lineup for Saturday, that'd be great too.
Look at that.
It's my birthday. Just call it a birthday present. I know we still.
Just give them a fake lineup, Kevin,
Yeah,
and tell them it's the real
I'll be
one.
Playing forward. I'll be playing forward on the weekend.
Give me 11 names and I'll believe it. It's okay.
Kevin, I appreciate you taking time to join us this evening. I know you got a lot of stuff on your plate. Go be I'm sure the child is asleep, but I don't know if they're still waking up in the middle of the night and you're helping out with any of that. So you got to go get your rest to be ready for that. Any last word for the fans heading into this weekend and what you want from them at Championship Soccer Stadium this weekend?
No, I think they can just continue to expect what I think we, again, despite the result, what we showed on the weekend. Like you said, we had some chances to get at least a point out of it. We were as disappointed as anybody. And I really think, like I said, with the spirit of the group and the changes this year, we expect to win more games than not. So just to stick with us and that we're excited to be out there again on Saturday, and to thank you to whoever was. I don't know if was supposed to speak about the comments that I was seeing, but just thank you to everybody who wished me a belated happy birthday. And I saw a suggestion there too for another place, so I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, we'll make sure. There you go. There's a suggestion. We'll make sure we get you some of those suggestions. We'll shoot them to you somehow, some way. Again, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kevin Partida, midfielder for your Orange County Soccer Club. As always, thanks for joining us. And you have yourself a great rest of the weekend. We'll see you this weekend at Championship Soccer Stadium.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Love when the players come on and they're able to be honest with us and talk with us and have a little bit of fun. That's why we try to not always just ask hard hitting questions. We like to ask some fun questions here and there and have a little bit of fun, because we don't want to put too much pressure on the players. They take time out of their lives to come talk with us and let the fans learn a little bit about them. Let's get back to you really quick, Matt. Let's wrap up this coverage because we don't have much time left on the show, and it's getting late for you out there. You gotta, I know you're on spring break, but man, it's still late. I wouldn't be able to do it. What are the keys for Tampa Bay heading into this match to get a victory?
Number one, let's not get any weird fouls early on and have to play with, cards you weren't expecting to try and carry and deal with during the match. Two, we've got to get the chemistry down between the forwards. And just from watching that replay, our defense is going to have to be on the ball, because it looks like you guys have some pretty fast guys over there. Should be a fun match.
There, there are some fast guys on this team, and some high energy guys, which is exciting to see. I like high pressure. I like the high intensity. I know it wears teams out and they get tired quicker, but I like players that just are like a constant level 10 on the attack or a constant level 10 on defense, especially when the ball's near them or they have opportunities. That's the whole point of having a nice roster, and you build for that. And when players start showing that they're wearing down a little bit, you bring someone else in who can do it. So hopefully there's a way to do that. And from what I saw this weekend, there are a few players on this roster that look to be high intensity players on the offensive side and on the defensive side, which really makes me happy. And I'm hoping it works out. I don't know if you know, Matt, but we tend to do this thing like called fan predictions, or even, I guess, us expert predictions for the matches, and Brad sort of manages that whole thing, and we tend to have information on this. Brad, do we know what's going on with these predictions? Who's I guess you broke it down to like on-air talent, written talent, and then fans. So give us the quick rundown on it. And look at Brad, pull the Brad like he always does once a show.
I know I submitted it to Andy before the show. I don't know if he was able to get it up in time, which is more on me than him. But yeah, I kind of broke it up since we have a written team and they're doing a good job spitting out some articles for us. I took the on-air names that we have. He says no on the screen. But scores got changed up this year. Used to be 10 points to some weird system that I believe Russell Butro made, one of our fans. I changed it up to be less weird. You get 2 points for a victory, kind of like in hockey, like a correct score prediction. 1 point for each score that you correctly guess. So if you guess a win and it's a win, and two goals to one, you can win 4 points that way. If that's how it ends up in game, and then if you correctly guess the first goal scorer for Orange County, you get an extra bonus point for an up to maximum of 5. And I can just say nobody on their bingo cards put Kevin Partida. I mean, fairly so. That was his first goal in 2 seasons so far with Orange County, I guess the beginning of the second season. And so nobody got that point. We did get a couple of perfect score predictions, the 1-3 final. Those being Chris R and Lucas M. As for on-air talent, the only players for us to score were Larry with a correct Orange County score, and Dylan with a correct Orange County score and score result. So Larry with 1, Dylan with 3, everyone else was 0. Andy was the only person from the writing team. I know he's our on-air producer. But 3 points for Andy for correct OC score, correct game, and then a couple of other ones in the community at large. I'll have those posted in the Discord later tonight with some charts kind of breaking down the predictions and what we were going into the game with. If you do want to make predictions in the future on our Discord, there is a link. Bring back or go click on it. Choose week 2. Pretty easy form to follow, and get those score predictions in if you want to be featured on a future episode.
All right, but I don't know, with this whole new like fancy schmancy prediction thing, are we still doing predictions on air on our show?
Oh yeah,
Brad?
Of course we are.
I don't know how that works. All right.
Yeah.
So we're going to do predictions for the match. We're going to follow that format, I guess, of the predictions. Who's going to win, what the score will be. And then what's the other one you can get a point for is like who the first goal scorer will be for Orange County,
I'll
right?
go first to break it down simply for
you.
you.
Okay, go for it, Brad.
Okay, so my score prediction for this game, I think it's going to be a draw. I'm going to go with the same score line as I did last week, 2-2. I think that Orange County is still good enough to score multiple goals. I know Louisville got really lucky not allowing a couple extra in, but our defense still needs some working on. And my first goal prediction, I was impressed with him, and if he gets some extra minutes this week, maybe a start, I'm going to say Bryce Jamison might score the first one if he starts this weekend.
I like that pick. Matt, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to let you pick. You're going to be the person that picks this all for me. So who's going to win, what the score will be, and who's the first Orange County player to score if Orange County scores a goal.
Oh gosh. All right. I'm gonna go with my same prediction I made last week for Rowdies in Indy, which is 2-1 for the Rowdies. So what else do I have to pick here? I've got the score.
Who's going to score that goal for Orange County?
Who's going to score the goal for Orange County?
Or I can pick that for you if you don't know enough of the roster.
I would have to say Kevin, because I don't know that I know any other players off the top
All
of
right,
my
we'll
head.
go. Kevin Partida is going to get a second goal of the season here early on, so I'm going to go with it. I'm doing this. I'm committed to this whole thing. Where's Kevin Partida in this whole sheet? I think he's not even an option for me, Brad.
He should be. I put the whole
I do not
roster.
see Kevin Partida on here.
That would be a hilarious oversight on my end if he is indeed not on there. I literally went off of
that is
our
why
website.
No one picked him last week. That is why no one picked him last week, Brad.
I don't think many people would have picked him regardless. Let's see.
So I'll wait for you to update it, but we're doing a 2-1 Tampa Bay prediction with Kevin Partida scoring. Unless I'm just not reading it right because
he's not on
drinking Guinness. Who knows what's happened?
He's not on there.
Okay.
He'll get added.
There we go. I will pick my prediction for the show, but my official one for the contest is what Matt said. I'm going to go with a 1-0 victory for Orange County, and the goal is going to be scored by Milan Olaski. He's going to get on the score sheet this week, is what I'll see there. Let's talk really quick. We're very only a few minutes left of time here, so really quick, I want to talk about this. I don't have any knowledge. I don't have any names to share, but rumors are potential goalkeeper for Orange County. I think we all sort of thought this with only Colin Shetler as the senior goalkeeper on the roster. You can't really have a team with one senior goalkeeper and then a bunch of academy goalkeepers. So rumors are there may potentially be a goalkeeper being added to the roster, but we don't know any names or what it may be, who it may be, or even if it's going to happen. Just rumors on that. Let's do this. Quick random thoughts for everyone. It could be a soccer related random thought. It could be a random thought. And we will go. I will let Matt, because he hasn't been here for a while, so I don't know if he was prepared for this. I'll let Brad go first so Matt can think of something. Go, Brad.
All right. So I am going to put this somewhere special, probably underneath a car tire or something. But I got this nice little. It's not showing up. It's a Rowdy scarf.
I love that your green screen is not letting it show up. Perfect.
I know. Exactly. As part of a holiday scarf exchange from the USL Discord, it is going to find a very dusty place for this weekend. I will make sure to post that for you online and tag you, Matt. But that's my random thought of the week. Scarves are
and
awesome.
really quick, Brad, answer the question on the screen. How do you feel about Damas signing in San Diego in quick words?
Good for him. This is a perfect place for him to continue his career after Sweden.
Perfect. Matt, do you have a random thought for us? It could be soccer related. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be soccer related. Or do you need more time?
You guys open over here on one monitor, and I have TweetDeck open on another, and one Knoxville, which I think is a League 2 club, is teasing apparently a jersey reveal tomorrow. And as someone who has spent a lot of time in Knoxville, Tennessee, my dad was from there. Used to go there 2 weeks every summer for vacation. It looks sweet, and I think I'm going to spend some birthday money on it. Also, nobody asked, but steamed broccoli.
Ooh, he knew, huh? My random thought is sometimes when I watch TV shows, I like to watch stuff where you learn something, whether it's information that's worthy to learn or just random stuff that you don't really need to, who cares about. But I just wrapped up watching Toys That Built America. Now I'm watching Food That Built America. So I'm binge watching those shows. Pretty cool. Get to learn. I don't know how honest the stories are, but you get to learn a little bit about, some things. So just learning about, I didn't know Colonel Sanders had killed some or had been involved in shootings at some point where someone died or what before he became, the guy that we knew as in a white suit and whatnot. He was he owned a gas station, and the other gas station in town was painting over his sign. So they got in a gunfight, which was interesting.
Okay. I have watched Toys. I haven't watched the food one yet, so I'll have to go back and check that one out because that sounds interesting.
Pretty interesting to learn where some of the food that we had and some of the disputes that happened with it, which was fun. I like to learn about stuff sometimes. And then sometimes I like just to watch dumb stuff too. But that's going to wrap things up. We always try and get this at under an hour. I don't know where we are. Hopefully we're close to that. But I would like to thank everyone involved in our show today, including Matt, our guest, who stayed with us in the East Coast for a whole episode. So it's now like midnight out there. It's actually the next day for him pretty much at this point. Also our guest, Kevin Partida, who jumped on the show. Thank you for him for taking some time out of his busy life to talk with us about fun stuff. Our producer, Andy, and then those on the show that aren't here tonight who typically contribute, which would be Dylan, Alan, Taylor, Larry, and then our writing crew, who, if you haven't checked it out, we're producing a lot of written stuff now. I mean, it's a few articles a week at this point, which is really cool. And I know it's a lot of OC based stuff, but I know there's people that like to just, nerd out on USL soccer news. So if you want to read some stuff while you are bored at work or bored at school, go onto our website, cscpodcast.com, check it out. Especially if you're one of Matt's students, while you're in class, go to our website. I'm sure he won't mind. I would be amazed if any of Matt's students listen to this show anyways. But for everyone and for all of y'all that listen to us, this is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, and we are out. Oh,